You know, this is one of those rare occurrences when I finish a book and I instantly know this one's going in the top 10 for the year. I just want to start this video by giving a special shout out to my new top tier Wizard Master patron, Doug Lippert. Thank you so much. Hey everyone, welcome back to Andrew's Wizardly Reads, and as always guys, I am Andrew, and today I have got another book review for you. Nay, a Gush book review for you. But before we get into that, make sure you are liking and subscribing, hitting that bell notification so you can get regular updates for when I put out new content. Also, make sure you're checking the description box down below for the link to the Wizardly Duo Discord, as well as links to all my social media and information about my Patreon, where I do my weekly reading wrap-up, quarterly giveaways, and other bookish content. And that said, guys, we are here to talk about a fantastic self-pub book. And that can only be Trudy Sky's The Cruel Gods, The 13th Hour. Now, first of all, let's just get in on this physical copy. This is some amazing cover art, and I love the little clock here up on the spine. I love the blue, the black, the white with that gold kind of color there on the font. I love the design of this book, and it's a very beautiful book on the inside as well, and it's also got a very nice map. Now, this is a rather complex book to talk about because it is a very masterful, and there is a lot to talk about here in this book review. But essentially, what is this book about? Well, this is a book generally about rebellion, and specifically rebelling against cruel gods. Now, our main characters here are Kale and Quinn. And basically, they are on two opposite sides of this situation. Quinn is kind of like a diviner police force individual, or a warden who can control time. He is called a diviner. That is what his race is. And then Kale is a Vesper. She can kind of hide in the shadows, and she can control the shadows and shift into the shadows and become very hard to see, which makes her very good for spying. And that is what her race can do. And that's just 2 of the 12 races that we have in this book. Now, we don't follow every one of those races, but each domain has its own race. Speaking of domains, let's talk about the world building, and then we'll kind of get back to what it's about. The world building here is this main setting takes place in the city of Chime, which is kind of neutral territory for the 12 domains, and each domain has its own god. If you have the physical copy, there's a nice little cheat sheet here in the back called the Domain Glossary. We've got the Memoria, home of the Anima; Juniper, home of the Fauna; Heartstone, home to the Ember; Solaris, home to the Glimmer; Acadia, home to the Saren; Withrin, home to the Necro; Tempest, home of the Zephyr; Obituary, home of Leander; Rapture, home of the Ember; Eventide, home of the Vesper; and then we've got Fantasy, home of the Mesmer; and Chronos, home of the Diviner. So we mentioned Diviner and Vesper, which is Quinn and Kayla. And essentially, basically, this is kind of a murder mystery / rebellion tale. And what's kind of interesting is diviners are starting to show up dead. But normally when somebody dies here within this world, or within Chime, they go back to their god. And they kind of vanish, almost like a Obi-Wan Kenobi style, where the clothes collapse. Like, if you strike me down, I will then become more powerful. Oddly enough, I'm wearing a Star Wars shirt. Anyway, so that kind of happens, and that's how people die. But people are dying in such a way where their bodies are remaining, their eyes are burned out, and a corpse is left, and these people are not going back to their gods. And there's a mystery to try and figure out what is going on. Enter Quinn, who is the main warden investigator on this. On the flip side, we have got Kale, who is a godless. And basically what the godless are is the godless are like, hey, the gods are cruel. Thus, the series name, The Cruel Gods. And basically they have formed this little rebellion of multiple different members of various domains. We've got Umbers, we've got Necros, we've got Vespers. You get the idea. There's a group of multiple people from different species and races kind of coming together to make life better for basically these subpar citizens. And that's kind of one of the things I want to talk about, is the fact that this book addresses so many social issues. And it does it in a way that I have only ever seen tackled by Sir Terry Pratchett in his City Watch books of Discord, which normally only focuses on 1 or 2 social issues per book. Meanwhile, this book tackles so many. We have got class structure, we have got racism, we have got religion, we have got sexuality. All of that is explored within this book. Speaking of sexuality, there is a sexual trigger warning within this book, so please be aware of that. I do think it is handled rather tastefully, but man, this book is just, it's so freaking good. Mental health, trauma, all of that is dealt with within the Cruel Gods. When I finished this book, I could not believe the story I had just read. What Cale and Quinn do, basically, like, what ends up happening is they have to come together through various events, and they kind of have to resolve the situation that is happening within Chime, because basically people are dying. The diviners aren't happy about it. The diviners, or the wardens, basically most of the diviners end up being wardens, but the wardens want not only the godless to go away, but they also want these deaths to stop, because they want life to very much continue on the way it's been continuing on for hundreds and hundreds of years. And it is so fascinating because there is a mystery revolving around Cale as well. So there's a murder mystery, and then there's Cale's mystery as well, because Cale is not like other Vespers, and they need to figure out why. And this is why she catches Quinn's interest. Quinn, I think, here is probably my favorite character, because he is such a damaged individual, but he's also such a caring and good individual. He wants to do what's right. He wants to serve the people of Chime. But because of the way that society is structured, it's not geared to be towards the people of Chime. It is geared to help the people who are in control. And basically, you've got these ambassadors of the gods who kind of dictate. They act as the voice of the gods, because the gods are not allowed to come into Chime directly. There's kind of an accord, or a compact, I believe is what it is called. And if you break the compact, there are consequences. But of course, like, there's various and numerous loopholes in the compact. As long as the god that is technically being wronged signs off on it, then you're not breaking the compact. And so we see a lot of those loopholes here within Chime, which causes a very corrupt society. We actually get to witness the cruelty of the gods within this story. It is both shocking and terrifying to imagine having to live within this society. So I do want to talk on the inciting incident that brings Cale and Quinn together. And that is specifically another member of the Godless by the name of Melk, who is another Vesper who happens to be Cale's lover, gets caught in a rebellion operation that the Godless is running. And he gets taken to his god, and they have to form a compact to work together to figure out what's going on and how this corruption that has leaked into Chime is going to be resolved. And this brings Cale and Quinn together. Their relationship grows from a point of distrust and then expands into this wonderful kind of just dynamic relationship. Now, if you're looking at this, one of the things that initially made me want to pick this up is the cover. It gave me BioShock Infinite vibes. If you remember that, it's a very strong kind of steampunk tale. I will say this is a fantasy steampunk romance. However, the steampunk is more background information. Like, there are steampunk elements, there are kind of machines that run off of steam. That does not necessarily mean that the steampunk aspects are the focus of the story. This is very much more character-based. So we are focusing more on the characters, their relationships, and the world situation that they find themselves in, rather than the steampunk element. So if you're picking this up expecting tons of steampunk inventions and cool scenery, that's there, but it's background information and may not be as fulfilling as, say, if you're just picking this up to read a good kind of rebellion tale based in a steampunk setting. Overall, guys, like I said in the intro, this is probably one of my top reads of the year. This has basically raced its way into the top 10 of the year. I doubt I can see this one getting dethroned in the next 4 months. Guys, this was amazing. 5 out of 5 for me. The blend of just character-driven fantasy with small steampunk elements, that nice through line of some romance, which, you know, sometimes it's nice to enjoy a little bit of romance. I didn't mind it, actually. Quite enjoyed it. With the commentary on the social aspects within this book is just fantastic. Last little comment. If you are looking for LGBTQ plus literature, those elements are in here. But guys, like this book just blew my mind. I absolutely loved The Cruel Gods by Trudy Skies. Please, please do yourself a favor and pick this one up. It gets my seal of approval from the wizard. That said, guys, that is all I have really got here for you today. So as always, till next time, peace out, stay magical, bye. And as always, I want to give a huge thank you to my patrons.